Now we can hear each other. We're good to go. All right,
Yeah.
let's get started.
All right.
The technical expertise,
pretty frightening.
The technical expertise setting this up is kind of mind-boggling, quite frankly.
What's in the kitchen there behind you? Anything good?
That's the pantry here at Boca North.
Whatever. Yeah. Okay, whatever. It leads to the kitchen. All leads to the kitchen.
It leads into the kitchen. It leads into the kitchen.
There's food there. Yeah.
Yes, there is. All right, let's get started. Here we go. Welcome to episode 9 of the Grumpy Brothers Sports Show on Millions.co. I am Chris Ludvigsen, joined by Ted. Say hey, Ted.
Hey.
Wake up there. I know it's late for us old fogies, but wake up.
No. Hey. I said hey. Remember, I only do hey here.
That's right. Thank you to our listeners. Please check us out. Please check out our weekly podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Odyssey. Our topic tonight is the NBA as we enter the stretch run for the regular season and into the playoffs. And Ted, in the last 5 or 10 years, most people say the NBA season doesn't begin until the Christmas Day games. For the Grumpy Brothers, the NBA season begins after Valentine's Day and after the All-Star game. Right?
Well, after the All-Star game. That thing, I don't know what they're going to do about that. That's
that was so much fun.
I saw your buddy Draymond had. Of course, he always has something to say, but
all right,
which makes him somebody that they have to pay attention to, and it's good for him.
I'm going to shock you with some comments I'm going to make about Draymond when we get to the West.
Okay,
just a little. What do they call that? Foreshadowing, Ted.
Okay, we can do that. I'm trying to figure out where my bald spot is best. I don't want to blind anybody that's watching, but on the other hand, makes me look smarter if there's something coming off of it.
Steam.
Yeah,
right,
that's what it is. Yeah.
Let's begin with the NBA East. And the Celtics, Ted, are 8 games ahead, or probably 9, I guess, depending on how you count wins and losses and so forth. But they're well ahead in the East. They're riding smoothly into the number 1 spot.
Yeah, I mean, barring major injuries, they're going to be the number 1 seed.
Okay. Let me start it off the conversation this way. If I said to you, the team coming out of the East, and you bet in your last dollar, you're going to take the Celtics, you're going to take the field in the East.
It's always hard when you say the field because anybody can get hot and, if there's an injury, but if they're playing if they're playing with their guys, their key guys, I don't see how you don't take the Celtics.
So,
I mean, they're 8 games ahead of whoever in their,
well, and actually that's an interesting point. The Cavaliers are actually in the 2nd spot now, which is interesting in that there was so much discussion of the Bucks. But before we get to the Bucks, let's talk a little bit about the Celtics. So I really, really like their starting 5. Tatum and Brown are a really nice 1-2 combination. Porzingis adds inside scoring, a solid number 3 scorer, a decent rim protector and rebounder. And then the guy that I have really become a fan of is Jrue Holiday.
Right, when he was in Milwaukee, yeah.
I love his overall game. He doesn't mind being the 4th scoring option now, and he plays defense. He handles the ball. He's the perfect teammate. And then the last starter that they have going there, Derek White. He's one of these guys that doesn't impress you with athleticism. He doesn't do anything super flashy, but he plays solid defense. He makes a 3 when you need it, and he plays the game the right way. That starting 5 is. I don't know which starting 5 I like better, them or the Nuggets, but let's hold off on the Nuggets. What do you, if you were taking the field, what are your negatives on the Celtics?
Well, I think one thing would be, they really haven't done it. They got to the finals, but
they got to the finals.
But
they lost, and they lost to the Warriors when they had a 3-2 lead.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but last year they should. Yeah, I mean they've really been the class of the East. I'm struggling with something here. They've been really the class of the East for several years now, and they've made the final once. So that's sort of an issue. You've got a coaching kind of thing where you're not sure if he's really the right coach for them to in the playoffs. Porzingis, he's what 30 something years old. Is he going to be able to hold up through all that? So, I mean, there's some things, but given what they're playing against, they're all fairly minor, I think.
It's fascinating to me, and I've heard a lot of people make this comment recently that for Jason Tatum's greatness, and I think he's like sixth in the league in scoring and playing on the team with by far the best record. When everybody talks about MVP, they talk about the Joker, they talk about Giannis, they talk about Luka, they talk about SGA down in Oklahoma. No one talks about Jason Tatum as an MVP candidate, and he's on the best team in the league and the best player on that team. Historically, that is, you're an MVP candidate.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not super flashy, and he's sort of, to me, he's sort of gotten to this one level, and he hasn't broken through. So I think that's
it. 2 minutes left, tie game, and you need a couple buckets. Who would you rather have? Joker, Giannis, Tatum, SGA, Luka? Tatum would probably get near the bottom of that list.
Yeah, he would have to be. Yeah, because he's not at times he's not assertive enough. He lets everybody else deal with it.
Right. And does he have the alpha killer, whatever mentality you want to call it, to do that? And I'm also of the opinion that there are times that I'm not certain that Joe Mazzulla in a big spot, like last year in a big spot, he couldn't get past Spoelstra. 2 years ago, he couldn't get past Kerr. In a big spot.
2 years ago, it was the other guy. 2 years ago, it was the other guy.
Oh, it was Stevens?
No, the guy that got.
Oh, that's right. Aduka
ended up in Houston. In Houston.
You're right. My bad. You're right. My bad. So anyway, but my point is, I'm just not convinced. But everything else about that team, I think, lines up well. All right, let's move on to the Cavaliers.
The thing that to me, the thing is, talk about all the rest of them you want. Philadelphia would have been the team, but with Embiid going down, and then he comes back. If he comes back, which I expect he will, is he going to be in shape? How much is he going to be able to play? And without him, they shouldn't be able to beat the Celtics in a 7-game series.
And I saw their stat since Embiid has gone down, or I heard their stat, and it's really, really bad. And there's a lot of conversation about who the MVP is, and to me, Jokic is getting to the.
That's a pretty good indication when the team goes in the dumper once your guy goes out.
Yeah, but to me, Joker has now gotten to the place where LeBron was for most of his career, which is you can give the award to whoever you want to.
Yeah.
The MVP, the best player in the league is Jokic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's the same thing with Michael Jordan and, some other guys.
All those years that Malone got it 1 year, whomever else get it. It's the same point. I mean, you can give the MVP to Harden and Westbrook, but LeBron was always the MVP. Anyway, okay. Let's talk about the Cavaliers, Ted. I like them. I like the backcourt duo of Donovan Mitchell and Garland. I like the two front court guys, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. I like the fact that they play defense. That's a good defensive team. I like Karis LeVert. Strus from the Heat is a nice outside shooter. They got a lot of nice pieces. Any thought that they're going to be a real contender to go to the finals?
To the NBA finals or the East finals? To the NBA finals?
Yes. You give them, as a number 2 seed, normally you'd say they have a good chance. But I'm
a chance, but I don't see it. I don't think they have. I don't think they have a guy. They don't really have the guy. I mean, Donovan Mitchell's a good player. He's a really good player. But is he? Again, we haven't seen him do it. So until you see him do it, do you believe in him?
Yeah.
I don't. You stack them up against the Celtics. I just don't see it.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And that's Ted. That's exactly what I have written down. My question is, in a big series, do they have enough to get past the Celtics?
I mean in the East, that's the question. Can you beat the Celtics in 4 out of 7 times?
Right, and probably having to go and win at least one on a home on their court at least once.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Let's go to the Bucks, Ted. Third in the end or in the East right now, and in theory, that's not bad. I mean, the Bucks record is 39-21, not horrible. But after bringing in Dame, I think they expected to go undefeated or something because they fired their first year.
I think they would. Yeah. I think that if the Celtics have 46 wins, I think they expected to be right there.
Actually, the Celtics have 48 now, but anyway, close enough.
All right.
But the point is, and Giannis is obviously still Giannis, and Dame. That combination is doing what we expected it was going to do. They're playing 35 minutes a game each and combining for 55 points a game. Okay, that's good. That's what we need them to do, right?
Right.
To me, there are a couple of big factors here. Chris Middleton has only played 43 games.
Well, yeah,
and
they want him for the finals or for the playoffs. Yeah.
Okay, I get that. But when he plays, he's averaging less than 15. I think the injuries have taken a lot out of him. And Ted, if you remember, there were times when they won the final, when they won it all. There were a couple of games where Middleton was the best player for them.
Right.
And he became you need a bucket, give it to Middleton. He'll hit a three. He'll hit a in-between jumper. He'll get you a bucket. And I guess obviously Dame now takes over that role, but I don't know. They're not the same team.
Middleton played a little better defense, right? Than Lillard. And
keep going.
They traded your guy.
Okay.
Holiday.
100%. Ted.
But now they have the new version of Red Auerbach as the coach, so everything's going to be just fine.
Don't say that to anybody in Philly, Ted. You know they weren't.
Hey, look, he seems like a nice guy, but there's just too much about Doc Rivers is coming. He won 1 title with 3 Hall of Famers. I could have done that. I mean, you roll the balls out, and they'll tell you where they're going to go. Okay, great guys, you guys handle it. I'm going to sit here.
Ted, you said exactly what I wanted to say. Last year with Drew Holiday, the Bucks were ranked 4th in the NBA in team defense.
Yeah.
This year without Holiday, they're ranked 16th.
Well, I don't want to put it all on Holiday, but it's got to be a part of it because somebody's got to cover the point guard and prevent him from doing whatever he feels like doing. Much like when I covered Dutch Morley. And he didn't score, but he set a record for assists in a quarter in a high school game, so I didn't really do much, but he didn't score.
Well, if the rest of your defenders at Paint Branch
had done anything,
you would have shut him down.
Yeah. DeMatha we would have upset DeMatha. Yeah, right. Okay.
No,
but Holiday, if you can get the ball out of the guy's hand that they want to have handle it, and that's what Holiday was likely doing, right?
Right. Ted, the other thing is, while he was not a starter for most of his time with the Bucks, one other player that's not at the Bucks anymore that I think is impacting this is Grayson Allen, who goes to the Suns. And Allen is, some people say, dirty, but he plays hard.
He's edgy.
Okay, if you're a fan of the team he's playing on, he's an edgy guy. He's feisty.
Yeah, right.
He's whatever adjective you want to throw in. And if you had Drew Holiday and Grayson Allen on the court together at the end of the game to guard the two best wing or backcourt players for the other team,
Yeah.
you were pretty solid defensively.
Right.
I really like Brook Lopez. It's fascinating to me how he's evolved from a back to the basket post guy to a 3-point shooter. And I think he's still very productive in that role on that team. Bobby Portis has resurrected his career as a sixth man and been great. But if we think that the current incarnation of the Bucks isn't going to get past the Celtics,
I wouldn't bet on it. No.
And let's say it's the Eastern Finals and it's Bucks Celtics.
Yeah, which I think it's going to be. Yeah.
I would give the Bucks a 25% chance of winning that series.
They have a chance. They know how to do it. They have done it. So you have to give them. But some of the pieces are gone.
Right. Dame could go crazy in a couple games and put up 50 by himself and win a game or two.
I don't think that would happen because the Bucks have Holiday or the Celtics have Holiday.
The Celtics have now Holiday to help shut him down. Good point. Yeah. And Jaylen Brown can be a good defender if he wants to be. He's got the size, the athleticism, the length, all of those things. So
that's why I don't think That's why I don't like the Bucks. Is the Celtics have too many answers for them?
Yeah. Now, let's say that the Bucks do not do it this year.
Yeah.
You then have Dame is 33. He'll be 34 next year with a huge contract that doesn't leave a lot of openings for adding other pieces. Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis and Jay Crowder, they're all nice pieces, but they're all getting older. And
yeah, right.
And Giannis is starting to make some grumblings about how long he's going to be there. If they don't somehow, if Doc doesn't somehow do his magic,
well, I think I have to give him a full year. I think they have to give him a full year to organize all that.
Yeah, but I think this window is closing fast.
Yeah,
for the Bucks.
yeah, and in large part because of Lillard's salary,
right? His contract, and unlike the NFL, where you can restructure contracts to open up some salary cap space. I don't know how they do that in the NBA legally, and I think the window's closed, and it is going to be interesting to me to see how much longer Giannis stays when he realizes the window is closed and he will have to go someplace else to win a championship.
Yeah, I think if they don't win it in the next 2 years, he's out of there.
Yeah.
Because they have to.
All right,
they
let's
have to
move
make
on.
Something. They have to move the money around.
Yeah. All right. Let's move to the New York Knickerbockers.
Okay.
I'm going to put my hand up and say, and I think we agreed on this, that we didn't think Jalen Brunson was going to be a huge free agent signing.
Right. He's much better than what we thought. Yeah.
We were wrong.
Right. Yeah. No question. He's played great.
I love the additions they've made giving up Emmanuel quickly to get OG Anunoby was, it hurts. He's a really good player, but OG, if he can ever come back and play again, is a really nice piece, particularly in the current NBA, guarding multiple positions, all of those things that he can do. I love the additions of Bogdanovich and Burks. It seems like the Pistons just pretty much just gave them those two shooters. I don't know what they give me. Like, give us a couple bags of balls and you can have these two guys.
Well, the Pistons had to get money somewhere. Have to get rid of money because they're paying the coach more than they're paying half the team. They gave the coach. I guess that doesn't count against the salary cap, but
no, it doesn't.
It's hard to pay a coach whatever. Would they give him, like 15 or 18 million?
Yeah, they did give him a big number. Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I still don't quite understand why they did that. He seems like a nice guy, and he's a perfectly reasonable NBA coach. But to your words, they didn't hire the second coming of Red Auerbach.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is that you can have the second coming of Red Auerbach could be anybody, but you got to have players.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, none of them win with that. Red Auerbach isn't Red Auerbach if he doesn't have players.
Yeah.
So
Bill Russell was a big piece.
yeah,
Let's come back into the century, Ted. I love, along with Brunson, I love the Villanova trio of he and Hart and DiVincenzo. I love the way that they play together so beautifully. I love their defense. I love their intensity. I love their toughness. Without Julian Randle and OG coming back, I can love that toughness all I want. Like I watched them play last night against the Warriors. And God bless them, just because of their toughness, they got behind. They were behind the whole game, and late in the fourth quarter, they got it down to 4 points. But they just can't score enough.
right. Second round team, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they're the fourth seed, then they get the Sixers. They could beat the Sixers even if Embiid is back in the first round. But I don't see them beating the Celtics.
No. They're not going to score enough points. Yeah, they'll steal a game and then they'll lose in 5. Yeah.
A couple of other things, and we were joking about this with during the podcast this week with Thibodeau. Thibodeau has never been a great postseason coach because, God bless him, he gets his guys to play with great energy in the regular season. Then the playoffs come around, and the more talent teams increase their energy level and effort level to match the Knicks. And now it's just about who has the best talent, and he loses. Same thing happened when he was with the Bulls.
Yeah,
it's happening now. And Ted, there's one other thing I wanted to point out for our NBA history lesson. What teams, other than those led by Isaiah Thomas and Steph Curry, have won an NBA championship with a small guard as the best player on the team?
Well, you have to define small because in the NBA they're all. But you're talking about.
I don't classify Jordan as a small guard.
No, right. You're talking about like a 6-footer, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about like
average size guy. Right?
I mean, Iverson got a depleted 76er team to the finals one year, but it was
right.
They got ran over by Kobe and Shaq, and that was it. I can't think of another team. Cousy was never the best player on that team, but that was Russell. Who else, as a small guard, has been the best player on a championship team?
Been the best player on the championship.
The best player on a championship team. And so that's the point that I'm making about Jalen Brunson. I love the guy. He impresses me immeasurably, but they have to do something to. I don't know that they can win a championship with him when he's the best player on the team.
Probably not. You need some size. Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the Sixers, Ted. I've never considered myself an NBA expert, but I was smart enough to try and convince Robbie about 5 years ago that the Sixers should trade Ben Simmons and give the ball to Tyrese Maxey. And that's one thing that my thoughts have ever proven to be really smart about when it comes to the NBA, or one of the few things. I mean, he's a really good player. I love that guy. He plays with energy. I just love him. Tobias Harris is a good scorer. I love the addition as Buddy Hield as an outside shooter.
Yeah, it was nice.
But without Embiid,
it doesn't mean anything. They're the Knicks,
and I don't even think they're as good as the Knicks because.
We're in the sense that their best players are all relatively small.
Yeah, if you put the Knicks and the Sixers on a 7-game series in the first round without Embiid or a significantly reduced Embiid. If Randall's playing and OG's playing, I think the Knicks could win that series. It wouldn't shock me if the Sixers won it, but
right. But neither one of them are
going to give the series to the Celtics. Ted, the Magic and the Pacers are both on track to be in the playoffs. Any thoughts?
Have we gotten to any of the teams that are going to be in the play-in?
Well, okay, so
because Orlando's in first place, right? I think
No.
Orlando's not in first place in their division. I thought they were.
Oh! I hadn't realized about
Yeah,
that.
so they're
Well, anyway,
in.
Orlando's not in the play in right now.
No, right. They would be in the playoffs because they win the division, right?
Right now the play in I think is the Pacers, Heat, Bulls, and I think maybe the Hawks might be holding on to a number 10 spot. But
the Hawks, oh my.
I think so. Let me. So
no,
Ted,
well, that's okay.
You want to talk about?
No, but Trae Young's going to miss like a month, right?
So that's not going to happen. Yeah, good point.
Well, I mean, it might because because I don't think the Wizards and the Pistons are going to come from 9-50 to make a big run, and I don't think Toronto.
So it's that here are the stats as we speak. Okay. Indiana is 7th, Miami is 8th, Chicago is 9th, Atlanta is 10th. Atlanta is 26-33. Brooklyn is in 11th, 23-36.
So either one could get. Yeah, Atlanta could hold on, or Brooklyn could catch them.
And then you've got the Raptors at 22-37, and then the Hornets and the rest of the Dreck of the East. There are a lot of things I like about the Pacers. Halliburton,
they had a good start. They had a good start to the year, but they've kind of fallen off. Yeah,
they score, man. They score. I like Halliburton a lot. There are a lot of things I like about that team. I think it's on the come, but I think they need another couple pieces or two. With the Magic, I was surprised that they took Banchero as their first pick last year but he's proven to be a good first pick. He's a good player. They got some nice pieces. But I don't see them doing anything. Ted, the other team in the East that I wanted to talk about is the Heat. And they're currently sitting in the 9 spot. So they're in the playoff series.
Yeah.
Do you have any doubt at all that no matter who they play between the Pacers or the Bulls or whoever else, do you have any doubt that the Heat are going to find their way into the playoffs?
I would think so. They have all that experience, and they have better players than. It's almost like they look at the regular season like, well, we just have to play these games and to get in. Once we're in, then we're in business. I would say that they would get in the play-in, then play their way into the playoffs. I'm not sure that they're going to make a run like they did last year.
Yeah, I think it would be shocking to get all the way to the finals, but it would be interesting to see if they play the Celtics in the first game, in the first series, and if they could somehow magically steal the first game in Boston.
Either game in Boston. Either game in Boston.
Either game, right.
2 games.
Yeah,
right.
If they could somehow get back, if they could have it 2-2 going into game 5.
Ooh.
Would you love to have a seat in Boston Garden or whatever TD Garden or whatever they call it now for game 5? Woo! Yeah. There'd be some some people on pins and needles.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say the off day, the travel day or 2, whatever they get.
Could you imagine Boston Talk Radio if they lose the first game?
Oh, that would just be insane. Yeah.
I'll say this about the Heat, Ted. Obviously, I've made it no doubts. Jimmy Butler is my favorite player in the NBA.
Yeah.
Love that guy. I love Bam. Ted, the acquisition that I really, really liked for them was adding Terry Rozier. I really like that guy. He plays tough, and you put the ball in his hands at the end of the game. No minutes, no time. The situation is not going to be too big for Terry Rozier.
No, he is just so happy not to be in Charlotte anymore. Just so happy. Oh my! I'm in the play-in tournament and I'm way ahead of the game, right? Charlotte's going to win maybe 20.
Yeah, Ted. One other thing about the Heat, a guy that again, I touted myself with Tyrese Maxey, a guy that I never thought was an NBA player when he was getting first-round projections, is their first pick in the draft this past year. The kid Jaime Jaquez from UCLA.
Right.
I never saw it when he played in the college. I never thought he had the skill level to be an NBA player, but he's been a productive player. And it's another case of, it's sort of like when we talked about the Lions and how they draft. he fits their team.
Right. Right. Well, the other thing too is we're not scouts. They, particularly basketball, they look at the kid Bonchero. I'm watching him at Duke and go, okay, he's got some ability, but when they lottery pick and you're like, what? You don't
First
see
pick.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when they were projecting, they're
Yeah.
like, really? But they see what they, the size and they're going to spread out and he's going to touch the ball more and this and that, and then they see it because that's their job. They see it. And then all of a sudden this guy goes to the NBA and he's tremendous, so that's their
There
gift.
were times at Duke that Banchero was good enough offensively to take over games, and other times he just kind of disappeared. But to your point,
That's what I mean. Yeah.
But to your point, they knew that he wouldn't be getting double teamed or zone defenses stacked in on him. All the things that you can do in college that you can't do in the NBA so much. So yeah,
kind of like the old joke about who's the last guy to hold Michael Jordan to under 20 a game, Dean Smith.
Dean Smith. All right, let's move to the West. Gosh, Ted, it's almost like we planned this. It's 8:00, 30 minutes on the East, now 30 minutes on the West. Gosh, it's almost like we know what we're doing at times.
Oh, let's not get carried away.
Yeah, the internet connection's ready to go out at any minute.
Yeah, that's right. You never know.
We'll start confusing who's playing on which teams in the West. But anyway, here's what I love about the West this year, Ted. I love the fact that there's some new blood at the top of the Timberwolves and Thunder.
Now, if they would just show them on TV instead of the stinking Lakers and Warriors all the time.
Okay, I want to talk about that. I'm going to hold my water on that. All right. Give me your thoughts on the Timberwolves, who are currently in first with a pretty gaudy 42-17 record, Ted.
Last year I think they took last year off to sort of figure out how Gobert fits into all of this, and they kind of reconfigured, I guess, their backcourt a little bit. But the thing is, to me, is Edwards. Edwards is just getting better and better, and I don't care. He's the best player on their team. Now he may not play like it every night, but he's the best player on their team. He's the most dangerous. He's the most dangerous player on their team. How's that?
What I love about Edwards in the playoffs, when you play the same team up to 7 times in a couple of weeks, by about the second or third game, they're basically shouting out the other team's plays as they're coming down the court.
Sure.
So it's hard to scheme things to get players open and to get easy buckets after the second game. Right. So in a tight game, 5th, 6th, 7th game, you need somebody on pure athleticism to go, as they say in basketball terms, go get his own shot.
Right.
And there are a lot of players in the NBA who can score, but there aren't a lot of players in the NBA that can get their own shot whenever they want it. Anthony Edwards is one of those guys. You give him the ball, you clear out that side of the floor and say, go get us a bucket.
Yeah, right.
And
or
it's great to
good
have
shot.
that.
At least a good shot. You don't score every time. I'll never forget. I went to the NCAA tournament back in the 80s up at Capital One.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget where he was playing. Brandon Roy. I guess he was playing at Washington. Brandon Roy.
Yeah. Really good player.
And they were playing Connecticut. Connecticut beat them. They had more good players.
Good players, yeah.
Brandon Roy could do anything he wanted to against them. And I'm like, okay. That's an
NBA player.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing was, it didn't even look like he was working that hard. He was, before he hurt his legs, he was so smooth, just getting around the floor. And it was like, he can get anything he wants, anytime he wants. Connecticut's doubling him as soon as he touches the ball, and he's still getting he's still getting a good look, or he's setting up somebody else. And that was Connecticut's plan, was because he's a player who knows how to pass and make the right play. We're gonna let the kid that isn't going to the NBA shoot.
Let him shoot all the time, right?
Yeah.
Right. Ted, I became a fan of the Timberwolves and thought that they had a chance after a game they lost. When Karl Anthony Towns went for 60 or 70 or whatever it was, and they lost because the team stopped playing correctly, and they were all about getting Anthony Towns. They wanted him
to score as many points as he could. Right.
And after the game, the coach, Chris Finch, basically called out his own team and said, that was horrible. And when you have a coach that has, particularly in this era, when the players
Yeah,
when
right.
the players are never wrong,
Right.
whatever they do is fine. For a guy in that situation to call out his own team, I thought, okay, I like this guy. The other thing that I like about this team, Ted, of all of the playoff contending teams, they're first in team defense.
They ought to
And
be.
again,
Yeah.
in a game, in 105, 107 with 1 minute left, and you got to get a stop. It's
Well,
nice to have a team that's used to getting stops.
and you have Gobert back there to clean up if anybody blows an assignment.
Okay, now, Ted, this is one of my concerns about the Timberwolves. Obviously, Gobert is a big part of that defensive stat. Right. I get that. But in the years when the Jazz had viable teams and Gobert was a big part of it, they never did anything.
Yeah.
And I just got to, and I remember that he and Donovan Mitchell didn't get along. I just wonder if there's.
Oh yeah, I mean, all that kind of stuff can still come up. Yeah, and I think Edwards. Now Edwards is probably more explosive. I mean, Donovan Mitchell's great, but I think Edwards is more explosive. So
he's bigger and stronger at the beginning, so he can get to the basket better. Yeah,
and so the chances of them getting that important basket are enhanced. Gobert's not any younger. It's a little bit of a crap. I'm not in love with them necessarily through the playoffs, but
there's one other thing I love about this team, Ted. I have been a big fan for a long time of Mike Conley, who is a traditional point guard.
Yeah, right.
And he's also someone that's comfortable being the third or fourth scorer. But in a close game, he comes off a pick, he'll get to the basket, and he'll get you a big bucket.
Yeah.
I just love the way that guy plays. And he's an adult. And in the playoffs, you need adults.
Yeah.
And I think I really like, so there are things about this team that I really like, and there are things that I don't like about them. But let's move on to the Thunder, Ted.
Well, here's a question for you. If Mike Conley played for the Bucks, would you like him more?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
The only downside about him is he's a little bit on the smaller side, but
he's a little small. He's getting a little older. He's not as quick as he was when he was playing with Greg Oden and
Memphis. Yeah.
I mean, God, Ted, what a college team that was. Anyway, let's move on to the Thunder.
Big surprise that they're this good. Chet Holmgren has been really, really good. I didn't think he would be as. Again, this is why the scouts look at these guys and go, yes, this is the guy.
When he was on that great Gonzaga team with Timmy and Jalen Suggs, there were times he was far from the best player on the court.
Yeah, he disappeared. You're like, where is this guy who's supposed to be all that? And then you look at him and he looks like he's going to get blown over by a stiff breeze, but he's so far he's been great.
Last year he had a foot injury, did he not?
He had a foot injury sustained in an exhibition game and didn't play, right?
But big guys with foot injuries are a bad combination.
Yeah, usually. Yeah, but at least he had it when he was really young.
So, Ted, here's my comment about the Thunder. I think Jokic should be the MVP. The executive of the year has to be Sam Presti of the Thunder.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, Ted, this is the trade he got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Clippers traded SGA, Danilo Gallinari, and 5 first-round draft picks for Paul George.
That's a good trade. Yeah.
Then he takes. Is
that the equivalent of the Herschel Walker trade?
Great minds think alike. That's what I have written down. That's exactly what it is. So Ted, SGA, I call him a lead guard. He's not a point guard. He plays point, but he's a lead guard. He's it's funny, when he was at Kentucky, he was an incredible athlete, but he had that funky shot, that funky release. I never thought he'd be a great scorer in the NBA, but man.
Well, see, but there again, once you're in the NBA, they work on. I mean, I know they work on it in college, and I know he spends more time working.
It's your job.
yeah, but at the NBA, he can work on it for 6 or 7 hours, and he couldn't necessarily. He's supposed to have gone to class and stuff, so he had other things. Well, I mean, I'm sure he did, but
Right.
but
No, I
in
get
the
it.
NBA, this is your job. This is
Yeah.
what you do for 6 hours.
So you combine that trade with some of the draft picks. We talked about Holmgren, the guy Josh Giddey, I think from Australia,
Yeah, yeah,
and then Jalen Williams. You put SGA, Holmgren, Giddey, and Williams on the floor, and I think Dort is the other starter. But those 4 guys as your main guys, Ted, in the current NBA, they are long.
yeah, yeah. It's a
And
good
they're all
team.
good
Yeah.
enough. They're all good enough athletically. They can switch. So from a defensive standpoint, they could be a good team defensively if they decide
Yeah.
they want to, if they want to try and lock somebody down. They're not great defensively.
They're
in the
just
regular
young.
season.
They're just young, and that's where it's going to show up in the playoffs. Is it because everything sort of slows down and
Yeah.
play a half court game. It's going to be a little tough. It'll be a learning experience for them in the playoffs.
Okay. Currently number 3 in the West. They just they're number 3 in the West now are the Nuggets. Thoughts?
Well, what's the name? Murray just rolled his ankle, so they're probably not getting up to number 1 because they'll miss him during the rest, however long he's out, 3 weeks, a month, whatever. They just want him back.
That long? I missed it.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know, but when you roll your ankle and you had a history of injury problems, I'm not, and I know I'm in the playoffs in second, third spot. I'm not in the play-in. I'm not going to hurry him back.
Yeah, and we talked about Jokic for a moment ago there, Ted. When I hear Larry Bird talk about Jokic the way that he talks about Jokic,
yeah,
when I hear Shaq talk about him, let's not put Jokic on the Mount Rushmore of centers yet.
No,
but
he's good. He's a really, really, really good,
really
particularly in today's game. In today's game, he's really good.
What I love about him is his offensive efficiency, Ted. Listen to this. 63%, he's shooting 63% on twos, 35% on threes, and 81% from the free throw line. Then he's averaging also 12 rebounds and 9 assists.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that Michael Porter was the number 1 player coming out of high school a couple years ago when he landed at Missouri, hurt his back, didn't play in college, still got drafted very high. And for a while there with the Nuggets, he was exclusively the spot up shooter. And I always thought to myself, the guy's an incredible athlete. And just in the last year or two, I see him starting to go into the basket more, make him become more of a 3-dimensional scorer. I love that. Aaron Gordon has also evolved from being a top 5 draft pick to being a guy that takes on the challenge of defending the other team's best player.
Right.
And he can score. They've lost a few pieces off the bench from last year.
Sure, of course. Yeah, have to.
But to your point from earlier, to me, it's all about Jamal Murray. If he's close to healthy,
95%, they have a chance to win it all again. Yeah.
Right. There's no team in the West that they can't beat.
Right. There's no team in the league they can't beat.
Right. Right. And if you told me right now that Murray's going to be healthy, I think I might take them again. Just because, but okay, let's go on to the next team, the Clippers.
Yeah.
Kawhi is healthy and engaged. They got to get Paul George back.
Right.
Harden, what I love, it's funny, Ted, when Ty Lue was the coach of the Cavaliers and they won the title, I thought, people lauded how great of a coaching job he did. I thought, well, you got LeBron in his prime.
Yeah, it's not
Love,
that hard. Right, yeah.
Kyrie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have to give credit to Ty Lue here for getting Harden and Westbrook to buy into roles that help the team.
Yeah, they're both older, so they don't really want to. I don't know that they really want to play 40 minutes a night anymore. Harden did come off the bench early in his career, so it's a little easier for him, I think.
But here's what I like about it, Ted. Particularly with the Rockets, and then to a certain extent also with the Nets, both of those offenses became a lot of James Harden pounding the ball.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Down to 5 seconds left on the shot clock, and he then jack up a three or try and go to the basket. And he doesn't have anything. He was never a great athlete, but now he's really lost that step to get past most guys on a regular basis when he go into the basket. But I like the fact that last year he saw this a little bit with the Sixers, and he's really doing it now with the Clippers. He's become a point guard.
Yeah.
Distribute the ball.
Yeah, better than Westbrook, who can average multiple or double-digit turnovers as part of his triple-double.
Yeah, the ill-fated quad with Russ. But and with the Lakers, they tried to get Russ to take this be the energy guy off the bench role, and maybe he didn't take it there because he thought, hey, I'm still one of the best 5 players on this team, the Lakers.
That's right.
And now he looks at the Clippers and goes, okay, I see that with this group of players, I get that role now. So I really respect that and Ted, to your point, when he was with the Wizards, I remember you saying this when he was with the Wizards, he brings it every night.
He does bring it every night. It is unbelievable when you see him on a regular basis. Now, it can get a little weird, but he does bring it every night. And the place he does really bring it, particularly in the regular season where you don't see it all the time, is on defense. He does all defense and rebounding. It's like he loves that stuff.
I saw a clip from a recent game. I think it was an end of game where they needed a basket. Someone took a three, missed it. He got the long rebound, got the ball to somebody else, another shot, and he got in there and tipped it, and they eventually got the ball back, and they got another shot and scored. So he basically, with hustle, got 2 extra shots and the score that the team needed. But he never looked at the basket and said, hey, I have to take this three. He found Harden or Kawhi or whomever else to take that shot.
Well, I think some of that too is when he was like on the Wizards, in particular, and when he looks around, he goes, "I'm the best player on the team. I have to." And at the end of Oklahoma City, "I'm the best player. I have to do it all." Now he's around guys that he knows are really good players, that he respects as players. And, okay, I can pass them the ball, because he did that when he was in Oklahoma City at the beginning with Durant and Harden. So I've never had a problem. I wouldn't have made him the best player or the highest paid player on any team I had, but I would love to have him on any team I had. There
you go. Well said. A couple of other things. I like Norman Powell as an off the bench 3-point shooter. I like Mann as coming off the bench guard. I like him. The combination of Zubac and Plumlee, neither one of them are great. But Ted, combined in the center position, they're combining for 18 points and 15 rebounds a game.
Right. And sometimes it's like, it really only counts because it's one position. It doesn't matter how you get them. As long as you got, whether it's one guy or 3 guys, as long as you get the numbers.
If they go into the playoffs healthy, that's another team that could beat anybody.
Yeah, because they have some guys that have been there. Yep.
Okay. Ted, the Pelicans.
I think they remind a little bit of the Magic. I mean, they've got some players. They're a little bit surprising, probably in a little weaker division. They get in the playoffs. They'll maybe they win around, but they've got so much to learn.
Right now, they might be facing the Nuggets.
Yeah,
they don't beat the Nuggets.
Unlikely. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd have to get to the 5 seed, and But who knows? With Murray being out, the Nuggets might fall back a little bit, and they might avoid them in the first round. All right, Ted, it's fascinating to me that the 4 teams in the play-in round, might have Luka, Durant, LeBron, and Curry.
Yeah.
So let's start with the Mavericks.
I'm going to mea culpa them. I didn't think they'd be that good with Irving and Doncic having to share the ball. And particularly since neither one of them is particularly interested in defense most of the time. I think so. But on the other hand, when they get to the playoffs, I think that's going to be a problem because right now they're scoring 110. In the playoffs, they're not going to do that.
Right now, Ted, the Mavericks are averaging 119 points a game. The Warriors are scoring more. The Pacers are scoring more, and the Bucks are and the Celtics. So they're and the Thunder also. So they're probably about they're near the top of the top 16 teams in the league in scoring.
But that's all for all of them. It's going to come down. And
yeah.
if you don't pick up your defense on the other end, and I don't think that the Mavericks, with particularly Doncic, it's really not, something that he's ever been known for. So,
yeah, Ted, Luka, the combination of Luka and Kyrie are about as good an offensive duo as you can have in this league. They combine for 60 a game, 15 assists, and 14 rebounds. Ted, for a long time, their problem was interior defense. I loved their first-round pick, the kid Derek Lively from Duke. He's perfect for them. You don't ever have to throw him the ball on the offense end of the court other than to do a dribble handoff for a pick and just say, Derek, run the court, play defense, rebound, and every so often we'll lob you up something for a dunk or get a fast break. But he's long, he's athletic. Perfect role for them. Then at the deadline, they go to the Wizards and get Gafford, who's not great, but he's another good, competent NBA big man, and PJ Washington from the Hornets.
Gafford played for them before, so he knows the land.
Oh, okay. I'd forgotten that. Yeah, you're right. So, if they get I don't know, could you see them giving a series to the Clippers in the first round?
I think if they're in the play-in, I think they could get in. If they were playing Oklahoma City, I think they could beat them. But I don't think they're and maybe Minnesota. But
if they're in the play-in, they might get. But see, here's the thing, Ted. The way it's stacking up right now, it's probably likely the Timberwolves and the Thunder are going to keep those 1-2 spots. So let's keep going down that road of that first round, because after the Mavericks, the next team in line is the Suns. And who would have thought that a team with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal would be looking to be in the play-in series?
Me?
You did.
Well, I didn't.
Why?
If you said Beal never plays. The last couple of years in Washington, they said, well, we can't get rid of him. He doesn't play. He's hurt all the time. He's fine when he plays, but he's hurt. Durant is hurt a ton. You got these guys, but they don't play. They don't need load management because they're laying.
They're their own load management. This is the problem with such a top-heavy roster. This team is obviously constructed to always have two of those big three on the court at all times. And to start the game with the big three, end the game with the big three, and always have at least two of those three on the court at the same time.
Sure.
Because if you don't, Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen, Josh Okogie, whoever else you want to throw in there, they're perfectly competent NBA players, but none of them are going to be the third or fourth scoring option on a championship team.
No. This team is built around those three guys, and then a bunch, and then 10 other guys that can play in the NBA. But we just want them to do the other stuff. Oh, we need them to score from time to time. Maybe. All
right, let's go to two teams that I'm shocked. Well, maybe I'm shocked. Maybe I'm not shocked. I'm going to leave the Kings out of the discussion for now. Right now, I love
they may have overachieved a little bit last year, and now they're coming back to earth a little.
I love De'Aaron Fox. I love Herter. I told you how good he was when he was at Maryland, Ted. If you remember,
that's another guy who you look at it and you go, and then he gets highly drafted, and they see it. They know what he's doing.
Sabonis is a really good player.
Yeah.
I like a lot of that piece. A lot of those pieces. I don't quite know. Harrison Barnes can shoot a three. Maybe it's just that the West is just too deep because the Kings in the East.
Kings in the East are probably in second or third.
Yeah, probably third. Yeah, I agree. All right, let's talk about the Lakers and the Warriors, Ted. And let's start with the Lakers. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, you have a 39-year-old who's supposed to be your best player. He's not, because if Davis, when he can play, and the mummy, because they wrap him up so much that when he finally but when he does play, he's healthy, he is their best player. So they have two good players. They have two really good players. And then
okay.
I mean, they're okay, but they're too much like the Suns. They're too dependent on just a couple of guys, and their guys happen to be old.
Now, the other night I watched a fair amount of the Lakers and the Clippers game, and I turned it off. No, actually, it was late at night, so I only watched like the first quarter and a half or so. And the Clippers had pretty much control of the game. Yeah. And I woke up the next day and everybody was going gaga over LeBron.
Yeah.
And at 39, he can still be the best player on the court.
Yeah, but how many games out of 7 can that happen?
Right. Austin Reeves would be great as a fourth option.
Right.
I like the way he plays. He has good moxie. He's a tough guy. He plays defense. He handles the ball. One of the things I also love about Reeves is he's another one of these guys that's not afraid of the big moment.
Right.
You give him the ball at the end of the fourth quarter, he's fine with that. I'll take that shot. I like guys like that. D'Angelo Russell has just never become the consistent third option that there are times you look at him and you say, okay, that's why he was the second player picked in the draft. There are times, but not all the time,
right?
Or not enough times. Okay, so you think I'm gathering from you that you don't give the Lakers much of a chance to go far.
I think they're just too old. Yeah. So no, I think they could. I think they could win the play-in series. I think they could win a round.
So again, if they've got the Timberwolves or the Thunder in the first round,
because of their experience,
right?
And and if Davis is healthy, he matches up with big guys better than he extends the defense out from the basket.
And in an individual 7-game series, LeBron with enough rest because of TV, they give those guys 3 nights off in between games.
Right.
LeBron in a first series getting 3 nights off, he can dial it up enough times to win a series against an inexperienced team. If you told me right now that they played the Timberwolves, and let's go to the conversation we had about the Celtics and the Heat. After 4 games, it's 2-2.
Yeah, right.
Who are you taking?
Probably taking the Lakers if everybody's healthy. Yeah, because they've been here.
If you said that they had either the Timberwolves or the Thunder, and it's 2-2 after 4 games, I would take the Lakers against either of those 2 teams.
Yeah, you have to because they've done it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the team that's currently, and by the way, Ted, to your point about maybe not giving the Lakers a huge shot here, of the top 10 teams in the NFL or in the NBA that are either in the playoffs or expected to be in the playoffs, the only team with a negative per game point differential is
the Lakers,
the Los Angeles Lakers.
There you go.
And I think a big part of that, for as good as defense as AD is in the post and around the rim, they're not great on the perimeter. And in the current NBA, if you can't guard the perimeter,
right, you have to be able to guard the 3. You have to be able to run guys off the line. Yep.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the Warriors, Ted. And I told you I was going to hold my water on comments on the Warriors. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Well, I mean, again, they're old. They've played a lot of games for the last 6-7 years. I think they're just wearing down, and they have not, like Aaron Wiggins has been a really good player when he shows up, but he's always got something where he's gone, whether it's an injury or some
second time in 2 years that he's away for the team for personal reasons.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying they're not legitimate and they're not real and they're not important. Yeah. It's just that, Curry plays. You know, your buddy Draymond plays. They show, they post, and that's as big a thing as talent almost.
For a long time, Ted, I got annoyed when people were trying to anoint Steph Curry as an all-time great player because I thought he was a production of the current rules.
Yeah,
I think he would have had a hard time playing in Jordan era because when he gives up the ball and runs through the lane to get to the other side,
he would get bounced around. Yeah,
Mahorn, if he tried to do that against the Pistons,
yeah, he'd be like it's like a pinball machine, right? Yeah.
Right. He'd be pretty bruised after he played the Pistons the first time. So I don't know that he's anywhere close to as great a player. Whereas Jordan, and I saw an interview the other day, Ted, where they interviewed like 4 or 5 different guys who played with Jordan, and a couple of them played at the end of Jordan's era and then played in this era. And they all said to him, "How much would Jordan average today?" And they all look at as much as he wanted to, 50, whatever he wanted to average is what he would average in the current game. But Ted, when I watch Steph Curry now, I'm really becoming more and more impressed with him, in part because it was easy to write off his accomplishments when they had Durant and Klay Thompson was at the height of his game.
Sure.
You couldn't cover all 3 guys.
Right.
So of course Steph was going to get a lot of open shots and make them.
Right, especially if Klay Thompson had one of those stretches where he'd make like 8 threes in a row. Well, you got to cover him,
Right. Ted, there are times on the floor, and I like Klay Thompson because he seems to be like I talked about Mike Conley. Klay Thompson seems to be an adult in the room. I always respect guys that seem to have the right perspective on the game. And I like Klay and I respect him. And I really respect that he's accepted coming off the bench as a role because for someone of his magnitude.
Yeah, it's a hard, yeah.
With 4 rings and he's a Hall of Famer, right?
Right. Yeah, he's going
that's a tough pill to swallow. But he's done it, and it gives them now a really solid second group because it gives them a legitimate scorer when Steph's off the court. But Ted, there are times. Last night, their starting 5, I watched them against the Knicks last night. Let me see if I get this right. Their starting 5 was Steph, Pods, I can't pronounce his last name. The young kid, Brandon. Podjanet. I can't. Anyway, the guy's name I can't pronounce. Steph,
the guy
Pods,
with the name.
Right. Moody, Draymond. Do I have them all? Steph, Pods, Moody, Draymond, and who was the 5th starter last night? Oh, Kuminga. Kuminga, right. Okay. So that was the starting 5.
Right.
So on that starting 5, who else are you concerned about guarding on the perimeter other than Steph? Like really worried about
none of them.
Give them all as many shots as they want.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Right. Yeah. They all want to go out and shoot threes, knock yourself out. Right.
But in the first period last night, Steph got 4 shots off from 3 and made them all.
Yeah.
So I've turned the corner on Steph. He's great.
He'll be glad to know that.
I got Ludvigsen's blessing. Oh my gosh! All right, now Ted, I'm going to shock you.
Yeah, I know. You hinted at this before, so it's okay.
You cannot deny the impact that Draymond Green has on that team.
No, I'm not. I've never. Yeah, no. He defends big guys that he really shouldn't be defending,
and does it well.
And does he rebounds? He can handle the ball pretty well for a guy who's really more of a center than a forward in a lot of ways.
His passing is fantastic.
Yeah,
his passing's not good. His passing's fantastic.
No, I was encompassing handling the ball. I meant, because he can dribble it enough.
Yes.
And he is a very good passer. I don't necessarily want him to shoot threes a lot. I think he takes too many that he shouldn't take. And and he brings whatever you want to call it. He brings toughness, for lack of a better
Yeah.
term, to a team that otherwise doesn't have a lot of it.
There's one thing that if I was an NBA coach, I would defend differently than most NBA teams defend the Warriors. Oftentimes, Draymond gets the ball at the top of the key, and whoever's defending him drops down to basically inside the free throw line. They're basically saying,
"Yeah, shoot.
You don't want Steph, you shoot it."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And the only problem with that is it gives Draymond as much time and a clear line of sight to pick out whoever he's going to pass the ball to. Right. I would tell my guy, go up and get on him. Make it a little difficult for him to get his good passes off.
I think what stops people from doing that was in the past he could get around big guys.
Go past you.
But I don't know that he can still do that.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Ted, there were also a lot of guys. And the other guy that I've changed my tune on is Steve Kerr, because, again, when he had Steph and Clay at their height plus Durant, you talk about roll the balls out.
Yeah, sure.
Now, I think what we've learned is that one thing that he had to do in those days was massage the egos.
Sure.
Because one thing about Durant is I've never seen a guy get so flustered by what people in the stands are saying. Like every other day you see a report like he asked someone to be thrown out of the stands.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I've seen things like he'll start talking to people in the stands when he's on the road. Kevin, you're one of the 10 best offensive players in the history of the game. Stop worrying about what the plumber sitting in the fourth row has to say about you. Now, there are things
that shouldn't be said, and those people need to leave. But if it's just regular heckling, move on. The less you pay attention to it, the better. The quicker it goes away.
But Ted, there was a game that I saw a couple weeks ago where, in addition to Steph and Clay and Draymond, Pods was getting playing time. Dario Saric, who's a shell of himself athletically, Gary Payton Jr., and some guy named Lester Quinones were all getting significant playing time, and they won.
Yeah.
So I think for a long time, Kerr was put up on a pedestal, and I thought, well, I could roll the balls out just like he can. But with this team, I'm really impressed with. And Ted, if you told me they play the T-Wolves in the first round and I have to bet my last dollar on it, I'm picking the Warriors.
Well, I don't know if I'd go quite that far, but again, if you get 2-2, then it gets a little more interesting. Steve Kerr was always had the greatest decision of NBA coaches ever. Let's see, I'm going to go to the Knicks. We go to Golden State. Sometimes that decision is.
Now, I will say this about the Knicks, Ted. I think the guy's name is Leon Rose that's running that team now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but he wasn't running that team then.
You're right about that. And the other thing that Kerr has done a good job of, and I think it's Kerr, but maybe it's just this young man himself figuring out the game, is Kuminga. When Kuminga first came to the team, he was trying to be mini Splash Brother, shoot threes and do all of that like Clay, and that's not his game. And this year, he goes to the basket, and he is about as dynamic offensively going to the basket as anybody in the league. He's an incredible athlete, and let's give him
both. Yeah. Let's give them both credit.
If Wiggins could come back and be productive,
it's a different team then. Yeah,
it's a dangerous team, Ted.
Yeah, it would be a dangerous team with him.
The only team that I think that they don't beat if both teams are healthier is the Nuggets.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, if both teams are healthy, then I think the Nuggets have enough answers. Yep. Right,
and the Clippers, I love their talent, but other than Kawhi on the Clippers, who's done it before, and the guys on the Warriors have. So,
and the Clippers aren't substantially younger. So,
no. So Ted, that's my shocker. I've come around. Okay. I'm a Draymond, Steph, and Kerr apologist
Steve,
now.
There you go. Well,
Kerr signed a big contract, but now he's thinking I got the Grumpy Brothers are on backing me, so I'm all good.
Look at it this way. great minds have the ability to grasp new and updated information and make informed decisions. How's that?
There you go. Let's end on that note, because I think you gave me
let's
something
let's
close to
definitely
compliment.
end on that. Yeah.
That's as close to a compliment as I'm going to get from my big brother these days. So I'm gonna run with it and go. All right. Any final thoughts on the NBA, Ted? I love that look.
How about probably I think your Celtics Nuggets is probably the leading choice for the finals, right?
Okay. Yeah. If Murray's healthy.
Yeah, right. If given
Murray's healthy.
Yeah, that's for all of them. But given health of the key pieces, Celtics Nuggets is probably the choice.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's wrap it up there. Thank you to our listeners. Hope you're enjoying these episodes. If you do, please check out our weekly podcast and follow us on all of our social media platforms. This video will be on our YouTube channel. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can also email us at grumpybrothersports@gmail.com. And with that, we'll say good night, and we promise to do better next time.